Good afternoon to all. My name is FrederineDerlot. I work at ITC. I'm an agri-food specialist. And in terms of the training program you have here, we thought that organizing a training on key agri-food certification would be useful. Whatever your export experience, whatever maybe current certification that you may have, this is why we have here Mr. Allali, who is an expert in the sector. And the idea is for him to showcase and explain the key agri-food certifications. Do not worry too much if you've missed something or if something wasn't very clear. We will share with all of you the recording of the session, and we will share also the PowerPoint, the training material. And at the end of the presentation, we will have an informal Q&A. So whether if you have any questions or you want to share some experience, we'll be happy to answer any questions yet you may have. Thank you for your attention. Mr. Allali, over to you.
Thank you, Frederine. Thank you, Lolade. And I'd like to extend my welcome to all participants. Good afternoon, and welcome to this training, online training on key certifications for agri-food processors. An important issue when it comes to exporting agri-food products, because most countries and most consumers are very sensitive to certifications and very reluctant to buy products that are not certified. And we have more and more consumers that are very sensitive to this issue. Then my name is Brahim Allali, and I'm an independent expert. I'm working with many international organizations, including ITC, and have my own consulting and training business based in Morocco. I used to be a professor at HEC Montreal, and I early retired in 2015 to take care of my own consulting and training business in Morocco. And I'm working on many African and non-African countries, helping SMEs go international and develop their presence on foreign markets. Then today we're going to deal with this important issue, which is certifications pertaining to agri-food products. Then today's presentation is going to be structured according to the following outline. In an introduction, I'll be presenting the context of agri-food products certification. Then why should we care about certifications? Then I'll try to address this basic question. And as a second point, I'm going to present some basics of certification to distinguish this term from neighboring terms and concepts such as standardization, labeling, and so on. As a first key certification, I'm going to talk about HACCP, which stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. And after that, I'll be presenting ISO 22000, which pertains to food safety management practices. Halal certification, which is an emerging certification pertaining mainly to countries where there is an Islamic community. And as I'll be explaining later on, halal certified products are not only Muslims, and we have more and more consumers, non-Muslim consumers, asking for halal certified products because of many reasons that I'll be explaining later on. After halal certification, I'll be presenting global gap certification, which is a key certification that is required more and more on markets all over the world. And with regard to organic products, I'll be presenting one of the most prominent certifications, which is European Union Organic. And fair trade also will be presented as an important label pertaining actually to how producers are being compensated by manufacturers and by traders. Then, and the question that we'll be addressing at the end of this presentation will be pertaining to which labels of certifications to choose and why. Then we have a lot of certifications to choose from, a lot of labels, which one to choose and why. Then I'll be giving some elements to answer to this important question. And I'll be presenting some takeaway messages in the conclusion before giving the floor to the participants to ask their questions or to make comments or to raise some concerns with regard to what they're doing, with regard to what consumers and what importers from different countries all over the world are asking for. Then as an introduction, then the context of agri-food product certification, as you know, the everlasting concern of all companies is to be able to produce more, to sell more, because the more the products the manufacturer or the market to consumers, the more profit they are going to make. Then the concern of all companies is to be able to increase their productivity rate, to produce more products so that they can sell more products and get and reap more profits on the market. And this concern has pushed many companies to have recourse to some new processes, new methods of production, new ingredients, new ways, new technologies to produce more, to transport more, and to distribute more products, and to enable products to be to last for a long or over a long period of time, then by developing new preservation techniques and so on. And all those efforts that have increased thoroughly after World War II, we can see that it is true that the production volume has increased substantially, to the point that today we have more products that are available than the demand on the market. Then historically, the consumer who wanted to buy something felt lucky to find the product on the market when he or she wants to buy it. And today, the consumer, when he or she wants to buy something, they find a lot of products, a lot of varieties of products, and the problem they face is what product or which product to choose. Then they became more demanding, and they became more intransigent when buying products and so on. Then we have noticed the emergence of new products for human or animal consumption that use increasingly pesticides and chemicals to increase productivity and to increase the preservation of those products as well. And we are noticing as well the emergence of GMOs, and that stands for genetically modified organisms, that increase productivity and increase the resistance of those products to diseases for the sake of allowing for a longer preservation period of time. And this rush or this race to more production or higher production doesn't have only positive effects. It has some side effects that we can encapsulate in those main implications. We notice the emergence of new diseases caused by junk food and some nutritional deficiencies in many countries. We see the emergence of new illnesses, new diseases that were not known a few decades before. Emergence and intensification of some harmful effects on the environment, like the greenhouse gas, the ozone layer depletion, global warming, ocean acidification, groundwater contamination, and all the climatic change, what we call the climate change that we are noticing all over the world. And we have some droughts in some parts of the world. We have some floods in other parts of the world, and so on. We have rain in summer. We have drought during winter, and so on. Then we have those actually those effects on the environment that can be explained by the intensive recourse to some methods of production that are very harmful for the environment we are living in. We can also notice the location of production in many countries that are not very regarding or very demanding with regard to how the production is made, how people are paid, how the workforce is recruited and treated, and so on. Then we have in many countries, we have some forms of exploitation and even sometimes slavery in some countries. We have child labor, we have exploitation of women, of prisoners, of small producers, and so on. And in response to these effects, some initiatives are being taken by consumers, by NGOs, and also by countries and by international organizations. And among those reactions, we can notice the rise and reinforcement of consumerism to protect the interests of consumers all over the world. The enhancement of the institutional framework, the institutional and regulatory framework to develop standards, okay, to make sure that products that are being sold on the market are safe and that people can consume them safely. Expansion of consumer demand, and as I said before, the consumer is faced with a lot of choices of products and services. Then they become very demanding, and they start demanding things that go even beyond their basic need satisfaction. They don't want to know if the product is a quality product or not, if the product will actually will be healthy for them or not. They start including some social and environmental and ethical criteria in their purchasing decision. Then they want to know if we have paid a fair price to producers, if we have not exploited women or children in manufacturing the products, and so on. Then they start having some new requirements that go even beyond their basic needs satisfaction. We notice as well the emergence of NGOs and some movements that criticize the current situation and propose some alternatives, such as slow food, minimalism, and so on. And the result for companies is that they came to the conclusion that if they want to keep selling on the market, they have to comply with the new situation and with the new requirements. And we have two different reactions of companies to comply with those requirements. And the first set of requirements is what we call legal or mandatory compliance. Then here it is important for them to comply with the standards that are being adopted in each country, be it the producing country or the importing country. Then all the countries have standards that companies have to comply with to keep in business. And they have to abide by some other requirements. And this time it is what we call the voluntary compliance, even if it's not mandatory. They have to comply with the consumers' requirements, because consumers now have some requirements that go even beyond compliance with legal standards. And that's what we call optional certifications, optional in the sense that are not legally binding. They're not legally necessarily legally obligatory or mandatory, but for the company to keep selling its products on the market, it has to comply with what consumers want. And this is what we call optional compliance or voluntary compliance. And also labeling, we're going to see in a few minutes what we mean by labeling and what is the difference between certification and labeling. Then certification can be looked at, and this is a basic definition of certification. It can be looked at as a means of communication to tell buyers and consumers that the company complies with the standards that it says it complies with. And it's not just about telling consumers that the company complies with those requirements. It's about also having some trustworthiness when it says it by certifying what it says. Then it has to be audited by a certifying body, a trustworthy certifying body that tells people by giving the certification to the company, by telling people that the company complies with the specific standards and specific requirements. Then this is how we could define basically at least the certification as being a means of communication with the market and with the actors intervening in the process of preparing, distributing, and so on, the products that are certified. Then access to nutritious food is a need, a fundamental need of each person, and it's also a right. Then every person has the right to have access to nutritious food, safe and healthy. And that's why many countries and many organizations are intervening in the process to make sure that the products being sold on the market are compliant with some specific standards to make sure that they are safe and they can be consumed safely. Then let's present some basics of certification to distinguish between some neighboring concepts, as we call them. Then we have what we call standards or standardization. We have certification, and we have labeling, and we have accreditation as well. And those are concepts and terms that are sometimes used as synonymous, and they are not, because there is slight differences sometimes between those concepts, but there are differences anyway. Then standards are formal agreements documented with technical specifications. Then we specify some important requirements and specifications regarding how the products can be manufactured, can be stored, can be processed, can be distributed, and so on. Then they are specifications, okay, that are used consistently as rules, guidelines, or definitions to ensure that materials, products, processes because we can certify not only products, we can certify as well the materials used, the processes, the way we treat people working in the company, the management, and so on. Then it depends on what kind of certification we want to have to communicate with people that we are compliant with the basic requirements of that specific certification. Then standards can be looked at as well as some information that are not always apparent, and some of them are tacit, okay, that they're implied, they are there, and more often than not, they cannot be verified. Then we rely on some trustworthy third parties, third organizations to tell us that the company complies with those specifications. Then standards are about giving that trustworthy information based on the compliance with some specific criteria that the third party, the certifying party, makes sure that they are met within the certified company. Then we can distinguish between three layers of standards. That's what we call the hierarchy of standards. We have some mandatory standards at the bottom of the pyramid. We have some mandatory regulatory standards that the company has to comply with to be able to sell its products. Then in each country, we have an entity that makes sure that food products, the products meant for human and animal consumption, abide by some rules, respect some mandatory requirements, and so on. And an example of mandatory standards is the European Union food hygiene, the food controls, the traceability requirements, and so on. Then we have some specific standards that the company has to abide by in order for it to be able to sell its products on a specific market, be it a local market or a foreign market. The second layer of standards is what we call voluntary standards. And as their name reveals, they are not mandatory, they are voluntary. But sometimes they are not that voluntary because they are required by companies and required by importers. And even if they are not mandatory at the state level, they are required by consumers or by buyers, like bio-Swiss, fair trade, and so on. And sometimes when the consumer is faced with two types of products, one is fair trade certified and the other one is not, then most likely the consumer would choose the fair trade products if this dimension is very important in their decision or their purchasing decision. And this sensitiveness about buying fair trade certified products or bio-Swiss certified products is very high in some countries. It's higher in some countries than in others. And the third layer is about specific company codes. The company can go the extra mile by imposing on itself the respect of some additional regulations or additional directives or guidelines to produce some compliant products, provided that what the company does is valued by customers. And this is the yardstick to measure the certification against. Then to find out whether a certification or a labeling is important or not, you've got to see if it is valued by the market, if it's valued by customers. Okay, then an example of specific company codes is the one given by Tesco's Business Code of Conduct, a good example. And many consumers are very sensitive to such codes of conduct. Then certification, the term we're dealing with here, is a procedure, or can be defined as a procedure by which a third party, we should maybe add a trustworthy third party, provides written assurance that a product, process, or service complies with certain standards. Then if the company tells its buyers or its customers that its products complies with certain standards, most probably they are not going to buy into it. They are not going to trust the company. Then when we have recourse to a third party that we call certifying body to give that assurance to customers, okay, that is more trustworthy than if we say it ourselves. Then certification is about communicating something that was verified by somebody else, by a third party, that we comply with the rules and with the standards for that specific certification. And the accreditation is a kind of certification of the certifying body itself. Now, accreditation is given by normally by an international organization such as International Standardization Organization, ISO, okay? That gives the capacity to a certifying body to certify companies. Then we accredit, we give the capacity, we invest that company with the capacity to certify other companies. Then it is a kind of a second level of trustworthiness, a second level of building trust with customers, because here we have an international organization, we have a certifying body, which is neutral and we have the company. Then we are not going to trust directly the company. We need some kind of checking on what the company is pretending to have or to do. Then the labeling is voluntary, it's optional, and it's a kind of communication between the seller and the buyer, okay? Whereas when we talk about certification, it's a means of communication all over the value chain. Then if you're a producer, you're going to convince the manufacturer that the raw material you're selling to them is compliant with a standard. Then it's a form of communication or a means of communication between all the steps of a value chain, whereas the labeling is addressed to or is meant for consumers, for the end consumer. We want to make them sure that the product we are presenting to them not only it complies with the standards, but it goes the extra mile. It does more than that, okay? Then the labels demonstrate that the product comes from where it says it comes from, okay? We say products made in a country, then it verifies that the product is originating from this country, and it's not a product that was just re-exported from the country, what we call the Rotterdam effect. Then it can demonstrate the origin, it can demonstrate the quality, it can demonstrate that the company meets some specific and transparent goals, okay, that are more compelling than the standards themselves. Then here it shows the willingness of the company to please the customers by meeting its specific requirements. Then certification can be a useful tool to gain credibility, because here we're talking about trustworthiness and credibility, which are the most important words to keep in mind here when it comes to certification, because we want our communication with our clients and our customers to be trustworthy, and we want our customers and clients to buy into it. Okay, then in some countries and in some sectors, it's legal, and sometimes it's not, it's optional. But when we take into consideration what customers want, we can look at it as a kind of being mandatory and not only optional, because legally it's optional, but when it comes to marketing the products and to make customers buy them, then it can be compelling, it can be mandatory. Then certifications are generally voluntary, but not all of them. And they're based on some technical standards, and they can be measured through using some specific criteria. And certifications can be can pertain to the system itself, to the process, to the product, to the management, to the organic status of products, and so on. Then the certifications that are more frequently required are Global Gap, Organic, ISO 22000, and we have some additional certifications that are required with regard to the product you are selling. For instance, if you are selling fish-based product, okay, MSC is required. Sometimes we have BRC, and we have some other IFS. You have some certifications that are also very important and very often, very frequently required on markets, but it depends on the product you are selling. Then a good reading with regard to how to find about those certifications and what they require and the certification process and so on is a handbook published by UNIDO called Quality Handbook for Small and Medium Enterprises, and then given here the link to download it. It's very interesting. If you can have a look into it, it's very helpful. The key dimensions of agri-food products, and we have four dimensions for certifying agri-food products. 4 concerns, not only dimensions, because when it comes to agri-food products, some people are very concerned about the traceability of the products and the ingredients and the raw materials that were used in manufacturing the products. Some of them are very concerned about the food quality and safety, and this is the most prominent concern. Some of them are interested or concerned about the social responsibility of the company, how the company treats its employees, its partners, and so on. Some of them are concerned mostly about the environment and whether the environment is preserved and the animal health and so on. Let's start with the first important and basic certification, and for all companies manufacturing agri-food products, this is the basis, and it's very important. And in many countries, it's required as a basic requirement. Then hazard analysis, critical control point. Then here we try to find out about the most critical control point that we should monitor in the company and prepare some correction actions to deal with when they emerge. Then the method was developed by NASA in the 1960s to make sure that the food provided to its astronauts is healthy and is safe. Okay, this is how the HACCP started at the beginning to try to spot the most important points where we have some hazards related to the product. And at each stage, we try to find out what corrections can be actually adopted to fix the problem if we cannot even prevent it from occurring. Then it can be, that method can be applied to any food production unit, but not to primary production. And it does not apply to crop cultivation, animal farming, hunting, fishing for food production purposes. Then this method with this certification limits itself to the value chain. It does not go further in the upstream, but it goes downstream. Then it deals here with food producers, and people who are concerned with HACCP are food producers for consumers or animals, food service professionals, then restaurants, butcher shops, grocery stores, and so on. And that's why I'm saying that it goes in the downstream, it goes beyond the value chain of the company to encompass as well the downstream, but it does not go upstream to the production of raw materials. It applies also to logistic companies, companies of transportation, storage, preservation, and so on, dealing with food products, okay? Equipment and packaging suppliers dealt or meant for dealing with food products as well, like knife manufacturers, refrigerator manufacturers, and so on. Then the cleaning and cleansing companies, okay, that are involved in disinfection, contamination control, and pest control in the food processing companies. Then here we are also always talking about the framework of food processing activity, and all the companies dealing with, even if they are far from food processing, if they are dealing with food processing units, then they are also meant or concerned by HACCP certification. Then what kind of hazards are can be prevented through HACCP? Then HACCP helps prevent three kinds of hazards. We have physical hazards, then the presence of hair, for instance, in a can of sardines. You open the can of sardine and you find some hair in it, okay? Or you find a foreign object that was inadvertently put in the can or in the product. You find pins, you find, I don't know, necklace or something, then this is something that is foreign object that is a foreign object and has not to be there. Then the IHCCP deals with this with these physical hazards. It deals as well with biological hazards, like when you find in the product some staphylococcus, some listeria, some histamine, and so on. Chemical hazards as well, presence of pesticides or cleaning ingredients in the product itself. Then it takes some testing sometimes to find out about the presence of some of invisible ingredients that you cannot see. Then you cannot see pesticides in the product, but when you do some tests, you are going to find out that you have some traces of pesticides or chemicals on or in the product. How to get certified? We have 7 principles and 12 steps. Then we start with the food product, and we want to make it sure, to make it safe for consumption, human or animal consumption. Then before implementing the HACCP process, we've got to go through the 7 principles. The first one is to monitor all the cycle to find out about all kinds of hazards that can occur. Then you identify all those hazards. Second step, you identify critical control points where the hazards occur the most or most frequently. You identify these critical control points and you set critical boundaries. Then to what extent we can go in accepting some minor hazards, for instance, okay? Then you find 0.001% of a heavy metal, for instance. Can you accept it or not? Then it depends on what you are going to do and to what market you are going to sell your products, and how demanding is the market with regard to those heavy metals, for instance, and so on. Then the fourth step, the fourth principle, is about to monitor all critical points to find out when and how the hazards occur, and define some correction actions to which hazards we're going to apply each correction measure, for instance. Then we're going to find out how to fix those hazards, how to prevent them from occurring, and when they occur, how we're going to fix them. Then this is what the 5th step is about. The 6th step is about assessing the effectiveness of the method, and you try to monitor all the products to find out whether you have been able to find out all the hazards that can occur, and you can fix them so that at the end of the process, you are going to end up having a safe product. Then assess the effectiveness of the method. And if the method is not effective enough, you are going to try to enhance it by adding some critical points. If you have missed taking them into consideration, then you're going to add some critical control points to find out or to identify all the hazards that can occur. And after that, at the end of this process, you're going to maintain records. You are going to write about what was effective, what worked, what didn't work, and why. And you try to improve the process the next time. Then you're going to get that kind of feedback that would enable you to improve your process. And at the end, you're supposed to end up having safe products that you're going to put on the market. And here we have 12 steps, okay? And you see that we have at our right-hand side, we have the 7 principles, as you can see. Let me just activate my mouse. Then you have 7 principles here, but you have what we call the preliminary phases that would enable you to prepare yourself to start doing this. Then the first one is to form the operational team. Then you've got to form a team composed of people representing different departments, and you'll have some engineers, you have some technicians, you have some workers, and so on. Then the operational team that would would monitor the implementation of the HACCP procedures, describe the product to understand it very well, okay, in each step, then determining all expected normal or abnormal uses, how the product is going to be used, okay, and maybe if you are preparing a kind of drink, is that drink going to be consumed directly as a refrigerated drink, a cold drink, or as a hot drink, or is it going to be added to some salads or to some dessert, and so on? Then you've got to decide about all the normal and abnormal uses of the products to find out about the hazards that can impact it negatively. You're going to develop manufacturing flow chart, and that flow chart or diagram would allow you to spot the most critical control points. The most critical control points, you've got to spot them on that flow chart so that you can monitor them more thoroughly than all the others. And after that, you're going to take that flow chart and you're going to check its effectiveness on the site, okay? So that you can make sure that it's, and here it's not the website, I'm sorry, it's a mistake. It's on in situ, on the site, on the shop floor, okay? You are going to monitor it on the shop floor so that you make sure that the product is, or the flow chart depicts very well and very effectively the way you are manufacturing on the ground, on the shop floor, okay? And after that, we go to the second, the first principle, which is the analysis of the hazards. You identify all the hazards and also the preventive measures to prevent them from occurring, okay? What should you do to prevent those hazards from occurring, okay? And here we are talking about prevention. After that, we're talking about fixing or correcting the discrepancies or the shortcomings, okay? Identifying critical control points, then we say that it's a kind of confirmation of the flow chart that you have drawn before, and establishing critical limits in to what extent we can accept some minor hazards, in the criteria that we'll be using to test and to measure, the values that we accept or not accept, and the target value that you should have, okay, including the margin, the error margin, as I said, okay. Establishing a monitoring system for CCPs, then how we're going to monitor the system to find out about those faults and about those hazards that can occur during the process, and establishing corrective actions. And you can notice that here we're talking about preventive measures, and here we're talking about corrective actions to improve to fix the CCPs and to improve actions in the future. You are going to verify and validate that the system works very well, okay? And after that, you are going to establish a system of recording and documentation so that you can have a basis that you can go back to find out about what didn't work and what has to be improved and so on. Then those are the 12 steps to implement the HACCP process. Then my piece of advice to you would be, if you don't have HACCP, start by implementing this on your own, and then you will be ready to have the certification. Then ask for certification once you've done this inside your company, so that you can prepare yourself to get HACCP certified. Then if you can present a kind of scheme of the procedure of HACCP. Here we have the value chain, okay? And you have an example of the process here, receipt of raw materials. And at the end of this step, you're going to verify whether it's okay or not. Pre-treatment, then as well, you are going to do it. You're going to verify, okay? And this is deemed to be the most critical point to be monitored. It's about the heat treatment. Then the heat treatment here, you've got to be very careful about it, because it's deemed to be the most critical control point, and this is where the most hazards may occur. Sorry, either because you have overheated the product, or you are underheated it, and you are going to find out at the end of this step that the product is not good. Then here it's very important actually to monitor more than the other steps, to monitor the heating or the heat treatment of the product. Cooling of the product, verification as well. Then you verify at the end of each step, so that you can at the end find out that the product is good. Okay, and try to compare this this scheme or this process with this one. In the traditional system, we wait until the end to randomly pick some products up to verify them and to verify whether they're complaints or not. And we're going to do it randomly, so that the likelihood that we miss or we skip some flaw products, okay, or some flawed products, some products with defects is very high. Then here we wait until the end to verify, and it's not very effective, because here the product, if it's not compliant, you are going to reject it, and that product is very costly because it has already gone through all the steps where it has received value. And the more value you add to it, the higher price or the higher cost you are going to have here. And if you have to reject it, you are going to waste a lot of money, because you have incurred a lot of expenses, a lot of costs to bring the product until this point. Then if you do it at each step, you can take some correction measures, or you can reject it. Okay, if it cannot be fixed. Okay, but if you wait until here, as it's done in the traditional system, it's too late. And sometimes you ship some products that are not appropriate, that are not safe. Okay, and that's why we find out that some companies, some of them even have gone out of business, because some of their products were very unsafe, very dangerous, and the company had to make a call of those products, and it could not afford to lose the market, or to lose the money invested in making those products. Okay, I'm thinking of some examples I know myself, and that is not the way of doing it. Then here, as you can see, you are going to monitor everything. And this scheme or this process has been applied in other sectors beyond the agri-processing sector. I know of companies that developed a HACCP-like system that they call stage gate. Stage gate, then we have different stages, and at the end of each stage, we have a go, no go decision to make. And that's what we call the stage gate. It's a kind of gate. Then you cannot enter that gate if you don't have a go decision. Okay, then it's a system that can be applied even beyond the agri-food processing sector. Then the most advantageous that would enable a company's HACCP certified to enter markets are the following. Key benefits are to demonstrate first your commitment to food safety to various stakeholders, because you are going to show them that you have adopted HACCP system, and that you are committed to presenting good products and to manufacturing safe products. Gain the trust of buyers, because if you are HACCP certified, then you are trustworthy, because the certification has been granted to you by a third body, trustworthy body, and then by the same token, you are going to gain the trust of buyers. You are going to demonstrate the presence of control systems for the safety of good production within your company, and that you are equipped to find out about any hazards that may alter negatively the products. You are going to monitor and control ongoing risks with your food safety management system, okay? And as I said before, you're going to decrease the cost of your products because you are going to prevent rejecting products that are not appropriate early. You are going to avoid doing it at the end of the process, and you're going to do it as early as you can. Raise internal awareness within your organization that you are very serious about manufacturing safe products. Then this is the kind of communication that you're going to address to your own employees to tell them we are not going to mess with safety. Then we have to manufacture good products that are safe and that we are willing to consume ourselves. Then we see sometimes some people, top management consuming their own products, whereas in some other companies you have some employees and workers that don't buy the products of their companies because they know that they are not safe. Okay, then it depends on the internal communication that you want to address to these people. I'm sorry. Then the second important certification is ISO 22000. It's about food safety management practices. We have seen HACCP, and we said that it applies to mainly to the value chain, okay, and it goes even beyond them to encompass some steps beyond your own value chain. And here the ISO 22000 applies to the management of that safety practice or that safety process. Then food safety management, how the food safety is managed in the company. That is what ISO, that is where it complements HACCP, it builds on it, and it complements it as well. ISO 22000 is the only international standard harmonizing food safety management practices. It's the only international one. Its structure incorporates previous provisions from ISO 9001, which is about the process, about the compliance of the process, to ensure perfect compatibility and complementarity with various management frameworks commonly used by businesses. Then it's something that applies mainly to the management of your safety practices. Then this is a certification that confirms that the food safety management system implemented by the company is compliant with the standards developed by ISO to monitor how the food safety management is monitored in the food processing organizations. ISO 22000 is based on 4 closely interconnected main components. Then the management responsibility, because here it's not just about the quality of the products and the raw materials and so on, it's about the responsibility taken by management, the management of the company, how resources are managed within the company, the planning and production of safe products. Then do we have plans? Do we have production sequence that gives us the assurance that the safety is present everywhere in the company and the safety concern is present within the company. Then validation, verification, and enhancement of the food safety management system, then those are the main components of this certification. And it's based on 5 key elements: systemic approach, and it considers the company as being a system. And a system, as I always say, a system is higher than the sum of its elements, because in a system, we have the elements and we have the relationships between those elements. Then here in the ISO 22000, we take into considerations both the elements and the relationships between the elements, which means that if we have a problem somewhere in the company, okay, implications and the spillovers of that problem go beyond that specific position or that specific activity in the company. Okay, we have side effects, we have spillovers all over the company. Then we have many problems that may occur just because there is a problem that you did not face in time, or that you failed to fix appropriately. It's also about interactive communication. Then here we're talking about internal communication and external communication. Is the communication, is it clear? Is it effective? Is it transparent? Because when we have a communication deficit, we have rumors. Then it's sometimes very deadly to have rumors in the company. Then we make sure that we have effective communication, and that communication answers to employees' concerns, as well as to partners' concerns, as well as to consumers' concerns. Then traceability also is one important pillar of this certification. Then we've got to work only with a product that can be traced back to their origin. We have got to make sure that all our products are quality products, and products that can be verified with regard to their origin, to their quality, to their the place where they were produced, and so on. And it's built up on the existence of prerequisite programs. Then you've got to have some programs and some processes in the company to say what you are going to do with regard to this step or this activity, and so on. Then all the most important activities in the company have to be documented, and they have to have some programs that explain exactly what these steps are about and how they are doing, who is responsible for them, and so on. Then, and it's built up on the HACCP plan, as I said before, and it can be a plan or many plans depending on how many products you are manufacturing, and for each product and for each process you have an HACCP distinct plan. Who is concerned by ISO 22000? Then everyone within the food chain, be they food producers, food products and ingredient manufacturers, animal feed producers, transporters, distributors, storage facilities, retail outlets, or food service establishment, and it goes even beyond to concern as well people working with the company as suppliers of materials, packaging, cleaning products, service providers for cleaning and cleansing, for pest control, and so on. And everybody working with those units or these food processing units is concerned. The benefits that can be reaped from being ISO 22000 certified, and that would give market access to the company. Then you are going to give your customers and clients and partners the assurance that you are using a dynamic and effective control of food safety hazards that go even beyond the HACCP that we presented previously. That you have the ability to constantly provide products that meet both customer requirements and regulatory requirements, and the products are safe and can be consumed safely. Assurance of transparency, and that's why we talked about the transparent communication internally and externally, and the implementation of a structured approach to continuous improvement, because, as I said before, assurance of effective and dynamic control, which means that this control can be improved step by step, and every time you find a new way of improving the process, you are going to include it in your procedure. Then it's a kind of implementing the continuous improvement, or what Japanese call the Kaizen process. Then the third certification we're going to present today is Halal certification. Then Halal in Arabic means permitted. Halal means permitted. Then a certified Halal product is one that has been obtained and or manufactured in accordance with the Islamic law called Sharia, and is therefore deemed suitable for consumption by Muslims. But I've got to make a precision, an important precision here. I know of a lot of people who are not Muslims who buy halal because they think that halal certified products are safer than non-halal, mainly when it comes to meat, okay? Because meat, the way it's slaughtered, actually makes all the blood come out from the animal, and the meat is actually more delicious and safer for human consumption. Then this halal certification applies to food and beverage products, okay? But it applies also to some other products that are not food related, such as cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, textiles, household items, and even finance, because we talk about Islamic finance or halal finance and so on. Then we have a kind of expanding certification that is including more and more products, and that is invading more and more sectors and industries. Who provides halal certification? Then it depends. In Islamic countries, it's something that is that is up to the government. The government designates an entity that is invested with the capacity of certifying companies. Okay, in non-Islamic countries, it depends, because we have some Islamic centers. Okay, like in United States, for instance, or in North America, for instance, we have ISNA and ICNA, that stands for Islamic Society for North America, or Islamic Council for North America, that designates the certifying bodies in North America. In some other countries, we have other bodies, then they can be private or public organizations that can certify companies as being halal certified or halal compliant. Okay, and each certifying body has its own requirements. Then we don't have the same labels and the same criteria for all those certifying bodies. Some common guidelines, because as I said, the criteria depend and vary depending on the specific requirements of the certifying body, but we have some common requirements. And those guidelines are about what is common between those certifying bodies. Then ingredients and materials used have to be halal. Then we cannot use pork and alcohol, okay, even as a minor ingredient. Then all what we are using has to be halal. Then it has to be either plant-based ingredients or something that has been certified halal itself. Then if you buy halal meat from a halal certified company or a halal certified slaughtering house, okay, you can process it, okay, and that is halal. Okay, then even if it's something that you did not slaughter yourself, okay, you can buy it, and if it's certified halal, you can use it as a certified ingredient. Okay, halal slaughter and handling. Then halal certification, even when mainly when it comes to halal meat, the halal meat has to be slaughtered according to specific guidelines, including using a sharp knife, not to make the animal suffer, to recite a specific prayer, and even the person who slaughters the animal has to be Muslim and has to be an adult. Okay. Then we have some specifications regarding also who is going to slaughter. Okay. It may also require that halal meat or halal meat-based products are handled in a way that prevents contamination from non-halal products. And that's why sometimes we require that halal should be or must be separated from non-halal products to prevent that kind of contamination all over the process, even when it comes to storing, handling, distributing, and so on. And you can see it in hypermarkets. When you go to hypermarkets and you have a corner for halal products, you are going to find that the corner is separated from non-halal products, because it's a criterion that is very important and that is specified by certifying bodies. Then the production and processing as well has to be compliant with some specifications, some standards in terms of cleanliness, equipment, handling practices, and so on. Okay, labeling and packaging as well. Then the labeling and packaging has to be has to mention that the product is halal, and to mention the halal certifying body who is granting that label of halal. And sometimes some requirements go even further by imposing with the company to get its funds when it borrows money, to borrow money from halal sources, not from interest-based banks. Okay, then some labeling, some certifying bodies go even beyond the basic guidelines that we have here. Then the procedure to get to obtain the certification can be drawn as follows. We start by making an application, applying to the certifying body. After that, we should sign with them a contract in which we commit ourselves to abide by the rules. After that, we undertake a kind of pre-audit to find out about what has to be fixed before going through the certification process. And once those shortcomings are fixed, then we go through the first level audit, then the official audit, and the decision is made by the certifying body on the basis of that audit. And if the decision is positive, then the halal certification is going to be granted to the company, and the company receives the right to oppose it on its products and to start marketing its products as being halal certified. The fees to get certified vary considerably depending on the certifying body, because all the bodies that are independent, then they can set their fares or their fees independently. Then you can do it in different ways, and the structure of the cost can include the following types of fees: administration fees, certification fees, audit fees, and sometimes you don't pay them once. You keep paying them yearly or sometimes even monthly, okay, depending on the certifying body and depending on the number and the frequency of the verifications that you go through. The main benefits of halal certification is first to reassure the consumer that the product is Sharia compliant, and they can eat the meat, or they can consume the product without any doubt. Okay, then you are going to give them the assurance. You are going to seize new opportunities, and because you have a lot of opportunities emerging all over the world in that halal niche that is becoming a market. Right now, we're going to see that the market is expanding in a high speed rate. Open up to international markets, because today, if you have halal products, you are not going to market them only in halal in Muslim countries. You are going to market them as well in non-Muslim countries, because in all Muslim countries we have a Muslim community. Okay, it can be very large, like in Sweden or in Denmark, or in Germany or in France or in Belgium, or it can be a minority, but even a minority would prefer to buy halal products rather than non-halal products. Then, and as I said before, even non-Muslims, even some non-Muslim Muslims start buying halal products because of their belief, or their belief that the products is safer than non-halal products. Assert ethical principles that you have values that you stand for, that you want to answer to Muslims' needs all over the world and so on. Then you show that you are ethically responsible and you want to show it to your segment of the market. A few figures about halal global market. Then we have 57 countries, Muslim countries. And here again, the 57 are the members of the Organization for Islamic Cooperation, OIC. That includes the 57 countries over 4 continents. Then we have many Islamic countries, Muslim countries in Africa and in Asia. We have one member, and OIC has one member in Europe, which is Albania. And we have one member in Latin America, which is Suriname, okay? And actually, it's a misleading number because when we talk about the 57 Islamic countries, some of those countries don't have a majority of Muslims, like, for instance, Suriname. We have only a minority of Muslims in the country for different reasons that I can explain after applied to be a member of OIC. And we have some Islamic countries that are not members of the OIC, like Bosnia and Herzegovina and Kosovo as well. They are not members of OIC, even if they are Muslim countries, and we have the majority of Muslims in the countries, okay? And in addition to 57 countries, we have a lot of communities of Muslims in different European and North American countries, like in Canada, in States, and in other countries in Europe. Then here we're talking about if we limit ourselves only to Muslims worldwide, we have 1.6 billion of Muslims, okay? And some people even question this number, saying that we have more than 1.6 billion. We have 45 million Muslims in Europe, okay? Mainly in Southern Europe. We have in Italy, in Spain, in France, in Germany as well, and in Switzerland, in Belgium. We have we have large communities of Muslims, and we have $632 billion of halal certified food that was exported in 2018, and currently this amount of certified halal exceeded 800. Then Global GAP certification, the 4th certification that we're going to present today. Then GAP stands for Good Agricultural Practice, okay? Then Global Good Agricultural Practice. Then this certification started in 1997 under a different name, which is Europe GAP. It was an initiative that was taken by some retailers belonging to the network, a network called Euro Retailer. And their rationale behind creating that certification was to address the growing consumer concern for food products meeting safety standards. Then those retailers decided to take the thing personally and to take care of it, and by giving their own certification to make sure that the products that they're selling to their customers are safe. And in 2007, the certification was so successful that that network decided to change the name from Europe GAP to Global GAP, because they started having a global vocation, global scope for their certification. Then it's a kind of vision that is proven true today, because the Global GAP is something that is required worldwide. Currently, we have about 100,000 producers worldwide Global GAP certified. and we have more than 100 certifying bodies accredited to grant this certification. Global GAP covers a lot of agricultural production activities, okay, that are encompassed within a corpus that is called integrated farm assurance. That includes good agricultural practices. Then, as its name reveals, it's about making sure that the producer is adopting good agricultural practices, okay? And it applies to many sectors like agriculture, aquaculture, livestock, horticulture, okay? Then it addresses all stages of production from pre-harvest activities, in the contrary of HACCP, which limits itself to the post-harvest. And here it goes from the pre-harvest activities to post-harvest production, including even handling, storing, packaging, and distributing the product. Then it's particularly based on principles of risk prevention and analysis, and this reminds us of what we saw when we were talking about HACCP. Then risk prevention, and when the hazards or the problems occur, then how to fix them, okay? Then its aim is to reassure consumers about the way food products are obtained. Then it minimizes as well the impacts of agricultural activities on the environment, okay, by making sure that the company does not use pesticides or chemicals and so on. It's very important, actually. And when those ingredients are used, then they stay within the limited standards, and they comply with the standards that are set by Global GAP. Then the food safety teams within Global GAP solutions deal with the identification and mitigation of chemical, biological, or physical risks. And this reminds us as well of HACCP, because it addresses the three sets of hazards: residue monitoring for proper use of plant protection products, traceability through handling, separation, and product identification, food contamination, controls on the use, storage, and quality of irrigation water, harvest and post-harvest rules, and so on. Then you see that it applies to as many activities as we can think of, dealing with how the product is obtained and how it is processed. Then here, the process of getting the certification, we start by examining the Global GAP standards. Then this is the preliminary work that has to be done by the company before going through the certification process. Now, examine the Global GAP to get familiar with them, evaluate the agricultural operation, make an appointment with the accredited certification body, and after that, undertake a first audit with the accredited auditor to find out about the weaknesses, about the shortcomings, and to fix them. Once all those shortcomings and weaknesses are fixed, then we can demonstrate that we successfully complies with the required standards. Then we receive the Global GAP certificate, which is the sesame to enter some important markets. I'm proposing to you this audit, this free tool to get a pre-audit of your company to find out what the items that are included in the audit are, so that you can just get familiar with how the audit is undertaken on the field. Then here you have some words in French, but it can be understood. And you have that. You see that when I opened my browser, the browser proposed to me to translate this page into English. Then you can do it. Here you start with the field by deciding what kind of water you are using for irrigating your field. Then are you using are you relying on flood, or are you using the sprayer or using other methods of irrigating or watering your field and so on? Then I don't know, I didn't check, sorry, I didn't check, but I think that it's available as well in English, okay? But when you come here, you try to go through the template, and you're going to find out a way maybe to get the English version. Or I'll try to fix it before sharing the template with you, so that you can go directly to the English version of the template. The cost of certification varies. Again, the fees vary from one certifying body to the other, and it's based on some criteria, depending on the size of the operation, the elements covered by the certification, and you have some rates outside of North America that are given as reference prices or costs by the Global Gap entity. Then here you have the link to go to that document to find out about the reference prices. And you have as well other, when you visit that link, that page, you are going to find out about some other indications, but you've got always to answer a questionnaire to get a kind of quotation about how much it would cost you, okay, to get certified Global Gap. Then some benefits to be that the company can reap from being certified Global Gap. It will enable you to sell your products worldwide, because Global Gap is accepted all over the world. Then it provides you with the opportunity to reach global customers, markets, suppliers, and so on, to show them that you have safe products, and that safety was certified by an independent body. Then, and you show your commitment to sustainable and responsible farming practices. You reduce exposure to food and product safety, reputation risk, and so on. Then you've got many benefits that you can reap from being certified. Fair trade. Okay, then what is exactly? Fair trade is a label. It's not a certification. Even if we talk about certification, then it's a labeling. Then it's an international label that was created in 1988. It was created initially under the name of Max Havelaar for fair trade with southern countries, and the rationale behind it was to give producers a fair compensation, because more often than not, we find producers that get peanuts, whereas traders and middlemen or middle people get the most or the highest part of the compensation. Then the purpose here is to make sure that those producers are fairly compensated for their efforts. Then it guarantees good working conditions and includes a range of ecological criteria. And it's important because it goes even beyond the social issue to encompass some ecological criteria, even if they are not the most important ones here, because fair trade is about paying fairly, compensating fairly the producers. Then the label supports financially farmers and their communities, because when you pay very well the customers, or you pay them fairly, they are going to buy more products, they are going to take care of their families and so on. And that money is going to be found in the community itself, and it will have some important positive impacts on the community. The label is managed by FLO, which is the International Fair Trade Labeling Organization, which is an NGO with about 30 member organizations. We have associate member organizations, 23, but we have up to 7 partners. Then we talk about 30 partners in general, a network of 30 partners. Fair trade applies mostly to textiles and to food products, and as I said, to some other products. But for textiles, it concerns, or it's applied only to natural fibers, and textiles based on natural fibers. Okay, no nylon or polyester or any other, then only natural fibers. Since 2016, the label is no longer limited to the agricultural phase and also examines subsequent stages of the chain, such as processing. Then it goes beyond the agricultural phase to encompass the processing. And this is something new because it started only in 2016. And we're going to find out that we have two different processes for certifying or of labeling companies. Fair trade is only partially an ecological label, even if it has an ecological concern, as I said before. It's primarily a social label because it's concerned about giving a fair compensation to producers. Then here we have, as you can see, we have two stages. And we have the producer-exporter stage, and we have the manufacturer-consumer stage. Okay, then, and both can be labeled. Then we have producers that join the network, okay, and can go under control and certification. Then we have producers that are fair trade certified, and we are going to help them get in touch with importers. And after the products being imported, then we have the processors or manufacturers that can commit themselves to respecting some sets of standards, and they can be certified fair trade as well. Again, they can be licensees, and the consumer, who is the more and more aware about this issue of getting producers fairly compensated, is going to require fair trade products, and he or she is willing to pay more for fair trade certified products. Products concerned, we have a lot of products. We have cereals, cocoa, coffee, fiber crops, and so on. And this link takes us to a page or a website where we can have a kind of infographic that presents all the products. Okay, and countries where fair trade is accepted. And I'm looking for the graphic as well, and I think that it's here, yes. Then we have here all the products that can be certified: cereals, cocoa, coffee, fiber crops, gold and precious metals, vegetables, and prepared and preserved fruits and vegetables, sports balls, sugar, etc. The fair trade is trying to expand itself to more and more sectors and more products, because there is a demand, an increasing demand by consumers regarding this issue of making sure that the producers receive a fair compensation for their efforts. Then the certification process for fair trade starts with making a request by filling out a questionnaire to be submitted to this address in Africa, because we're talking here about people in Africa. Then I put this address in Africa. We have different address for each continent, and this is address for Africa. And after that, after receiving the questionnaire and after going through it, the flu certification certifying body would ask for some additional documents and to pay. They're going to give you the quotation and ask you to pay the fees. After that, you will be going through the initial audit that will be prepared and coordinated, and after that, the field audit. And we are going to see the reports and to review it and to see whether there are any discrepancies that have to be fixed and the corrective actions to be undertaken to make sure that all the discrepancies have been effectively and successfully fixed. And after that, we go to the last step, which is about granting the certificates and granting the right to use the logo of the label and to communicate about being certified fair trade. Okay, then issuance of the certificate for a specific period of time that we're going to find out later on. Then how to know about the fees. You have here this the site, the website of Flowcert that would ask you to answer some questions. And once you answer those questions, you are going to receive a quotation, because they're going to ask you about what you want to certify, whether you are a producer or a processor. And after that, they are going to submit to you a quotation. And if you accept it, you are going to receive the visit of an auditor or of auditors to audit your company. Then the benefits that a company can reap from being fair trade certified: guaranteed minimum price of producers, and this is very important because a lot of people, as I say, are sensitive to this issue. Encouragement of sustainable farming practices, because we recruit only producers that are very willing to adopt sustainable farming practices. Access to an increasingly large consumer base that is sensitive to the social and environmental aspects of the product they purchase. Last certification that we're going to present today is about the European Union organic. Okay, there here the principle says that all people who want to market their products as being organic have to register with an agency or a control body, and have to go through a certification process to make sure that their products are organic in compliance with the European Union standards and requirements. And they have to observe a conversion period. What do we call a conversion period? It's a period during which the candidate to the certification adopt organic production methods. They use organic seeds. They behave exactly as if they were producing organic products, but they don't have the right to sell their products as being organic. Then that period of time is of 3 years for perennial crops such as berries, tree fruits, and grapevines. Okay, it's of 12 months for pastures for pigs and poultry. It's of 2 years for annual crops and pastures for ruminants like rabbits and so on. Then this conversion period of time makes sure that the field has expelled all the traces of pesticides and chemicals that you have been using when you were producing non-organic products. The activities concerned are various. We have the agriculture, lato sensu, in the large meaning of the term. We have fishing, floriculture and horticulture, livestock, manufactured products, processed products. All those sectors are concerned. And when it comes to products themselves, we have products of aquaculture, bananas, cereals, cocoa, coconut, coffee, tea and spices, cosmetics, cotton and fibers, and so on. Then all products that comes from agriculture, aquaculture, and of similar activities can be eligible to be organic certified. Criteria taken into consideration to give that certification, and you see here that the environment is the most important when we talk about organic. Then environment, are you using organic seeds? Are you using organic methods? Are you using pesticides or chemicals and so on? Then if you go to the standards map, okay, to find out about this EU organic farming, you're going to find that criteria dealing with environment accounts for 65% of all criteria used to certify the company, whereas criteria used to assess the quality of the products represents only 24% of all criteria used to certify the company. And the criterion pertaining to management and ethics represent 11%. And it's primarily something about the environment and if they are using chemicals, pesticides, and so on. Okay. Go back to the presentation. The products concerned, then minimum level of conformity is assessed by a third party, then called the certified body. The verification cycle can be 1 year or less, depending on whether the company is fully compliant or not. Okay, if sometimes the company is granted the certification for a limited time, and we ask it to fix some minor flaws, and if the company fails to do that, then the certification will not be renewed. What is verified? The factory, the farm, production unit, including the office itself, and the documentation as well is reviewed during the process. How often are operators subjected to a full recertification? 1 year or less, depending again on what I said here. And unannounced visits are allowed. Then certifiers and auditors can step in whenever they want to verify that the products you are using, that you are producing, or pesticides or chemicals and so on, you don't have anything that is against the standards or the requirements of the certification. Then the organic farming continues to grow, and the market is expanding at a high speed because in 2000 we had only 15 million hectares that were certified organic. Okay. And in 2022, we jumped up to more than 96 million hectares. Okay. In 2022, there were 4.5 million organic producers, and against 200,000 only in 99. You can see that in 23 years, the number jumped up to 4.5 million organic producers. Most of these organic producers are based in India because India has been focusing a lot on the organic production. The global organic market has seen significant growth as well, rising from 15.1 billion in 2000 to 135 billion euros, in 2022. The USA is the leading market with more than 58 billion euros, followed by Germany with more than 15 billion, and China with more than 12 billion. Then we have a lot of certifications and a lot of labels. And the question that raises itself here is which labels or certification to choose and why. And here, to help you answer this question, there are the main important criteria to be taken into consideration. The products you plan to export, then can be a product that can be, is it organic? And if it's organic, is it worth it to communicate to the market that our product is organic, and the product itself, whether it's eligible or not? The second criterion is the target market and what it requires with regard to the products and the services that consumers or buyers purchase generally, because you go to some markets and they are going to ask you whether the producers were paid fairly or not, whether you treat decently the people working with you, in the company, and so on. Then depending on those questions, on those requirements, you are going to adopt such or such certification or such and such label. Your vision, then you want sometimes to enter some markets, and you find out that in those markets, people are very demanding of a specific certification or specific label or something like that. And cost-benefit analysis that you should undertake as well, because certifications are costly. Some of them are more costly than others. Then you are going to incur some costs, and in hope to reap some benefits. Then you've got to compare the benefits you hope to reap from getting certified with the cost that you will have to defray. And the budget you have. Do you have the budget actually to get certified? Is there any local organism or local organization or international organization that you can contact to take to pay for the certification? Because in many countries you have some development programs that would pay for your certification. Then you've got to find out whether in your country you have such possibility to get that funding from a specific entity. Are you able to comply with the certification requirements? And very important question, because if you want to get organic certified, for instance, and you don't know how to do it, and you are surrounded with fields that are not organic, that are producing non-organic products, and you need a lot of things to do to get organic certified, then you are not ready yet. Then you've got to prepare yourself and to ask yourself whether you are able right now to get compliant with that certification or not. And you ask yourself as well about the certifications held by your competitors. Why your competitors are buying, why your competitors are selling more products than you, okay, on the same market, mainly because their products are certified and yours are not. Then ask yourself what kind of certification you have to have in order to be more competitive, or as competitive as your as the other companies selling the same products on the same markets. And here we have a tool that you can use very effectively, which is really interesting, standardsmaps.org. Okay, and here you can have a lot of, you can have a lot of information about many standards. You have more than 300 standards, okay, and you can change the language. Okay, can change the language, and you can get connected as well to find out about one specific standard, for instance. Then here you can identify the standards you are interested in. You have more than 260 standards. But my screen does not show me because I have a kind of reflect on my eyes. I don't see, I don't remember where to change the language. Anyway, then you can identify the standards you are interested in, then identify the standards, okay? And you have some filters, okay? Are you interested in getting a certification that deals with human and labor rights, with due diligence, with environment and climate change, with gender, sustainable business, quality, food safety, and so on? Then let's go to food safety, for instance, and you're going to find select all, procedures, risk management, traceability, recall procedure, and so on. HACCP, for instance, okay? Then you can use this. And you can use other filters, for instance, traceability, credibility, and so on. You select your sector. Are you in the agriculture field? Are you in aquaculture? Are you in chemicals? Okay, the products you are working on. Okay, then what kind of product or service? Okay, then here you choose the product you are interested in. You choose the origin of the products. Okay, where the products comes from. Then we are in Africa, for instance. Then I choose Africa. Then in here you see that the ranking is changing because I am producing new filters. The ranking is changing to give me only the certifications that are relevant to my search destination. Then I'm going to choose Europe, for instance. Then here you see that its ranking is changing as well because it gives me only the certifications that pertain to the European market for products coming from Africa. Okay, and so on. Then you can do a lot of things. You can change you can select the chain value. Are you a producer? Are you a manufacturer? Are you a distributor? Are you a consumer? You have also the SDGs objectives, the Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations, typologies, objective, and so on. Then, and this would give you all the relevant certifications depending on the filters that you have chosen. Okay, and once you see that you have a lot of products here dealing with fish. If we go to the this one, for instance, the European Union organic farming, you can see the profile of that certification. Then it gives us the regulatory support, regulatory basis on which the certification has been decided. Okay. Sectors that are concerned in agriculture, fisheries, agricultural livestock, and manufactured products, processed food, and so on. The products themselves, then you have a list of products, okay, and the countries that are concerned as well, geographical scope, the origin, and the destination. Then what countries ask for this certification, okay? And you can know more about it, read more about it by finding out more products, more countries requiring or where customers are requiring this certification or accepting this certification, because we have many certifications regarding organic products and so on. Okay, and you can go to the criteria that are used to actually to get certified, to get organic certified. And here you have some criteria that deal with the environment, some others with the social dimension, with management and ethics, and with quality. And you have here delay to get compliant with the criteria. How critical is that criterion or criteria? And so on. Then you click on what you want and you get the information regarding the criteria pertaining to the soil, the water, biodiversity, forest, input, waste, and so on. Okay, and here you have some basic information, okay, that are really important and can help you choose the right label or the right certification for your product or for your company. Then another tool, unfortunately, it's in French. It's available only in French and in Dutch. But as you can see, the headings are in English, and they think that it can be. We have 106 labels pertaining to different sectors, and here you have some filters: biofair, food, packaging, paper, the products for maintenance, the lifestyle, and so on. Then you choose the one that pertains to what you are doing. and it gives you some information about it, and some of the information is in English, and some of it is in Dutch. Some other information is in French, like Energy Star, for instance. It's I'm choosing it just because it's not wrong, just to show you actually the outline, and it says presents the label. It gives information about what kind of guarantee that label gives, who controls that label or the labeling process, what products are the most relevant to the label, and so on. Then, and I'm giving it just for the case you have a browser that proposes the translation of it, and most of the browsers right now, if you have a new version of your browser, it would propose to you to translate it into English. Unfortunately, it's not by default language here. Then the cost of certification, again, it varies according to, or depending on many criteria. Location of the company located in a big city or in the countryside. Is it far from major cities? What the certification you are requesting, and the availability of certifier and auditors locally, whether you have the certifier and auditors available locally, or if they have to come to travel from another country, then you will be charged for their transportation cost, and this would cost higher. Whether the company is already engaged in a quality process at the time of the request. If you have the HACCP, for instance, it would help you reducing the cost because you've gone a bit of the road, and you are going to have auditors to help you go the remaining part of the road. Size of the company, and is it big, is it a small company, and so on. Number of products, the size of the operation, the scope of activities, and so on. The duration of the certification audit, and how long is it going to last to audit your company, and how long or how complicated it's going to be prepared. The involvement of supervisors, sometimes the situation is so complicated that some supervisors have to be there as well to monitor the work of auditors. All those criteria are very important and very impactful on the fees to be paid for certification. Then the validity period of certifications, we have the HACCP, which is valid for 3 years, Global Gap, which is valid for 1 year. You have organic, and we presented the EU organic, which is valid for 1.5 years. You have halal, which depends on the certifying body. For instance, if you get the accreditation from Malaysia, your certifying body is appointed or accredited by Malaysia. The certification validity is 2 years. Singapore 1 or 2 years. Indonesia 4 years, and Philippines 1 year. ISO 22000 3 years. You have fair trade 3 years. Those are the main certifications that we presented here in this online training. As a conclusion, how can I improve the quality of my products but to buyers? Because again, it's about communication. It's about communicating to buyers that your products are compliant with some specific standards. Then at the pre-harvest and harvest phases, you have product certification. You can get your product certified through Global Gap, organic, or some retailers' private standards. And as well, you will be required for most markets to have a maximum residual limit test. Okay. At the post-harvest phases, certification of packing plants, then the way you are going to pack your products and so on, you've got to have that packaging station certified as well. Growing demand for food safety and hygiene protocols such as ACCP, BRC, and others. And additional certifications can be required as well on some markets, like on the Scandinavian market, for instance. They would ask you for SMETA or SMETA audit that shows that you treat your employees in a respectful and decent manner, fair trade, fair for life, and so on. Okay. As takeaway messages in the conclusion, then certification is both proof of compliance of your products, processes, system, and the company itself, and a form of communication to inform and to reassure, because this is the purpose, to inform customers that your products are compliant, and to reassure them that they can use your products safely without any doubt or any suspicion. Some certifications are mandatory, whereas others some optional, and many companies want to go the extra mile to prove to customers that they are willing to do more than what is legally required. The choice of certifications is determined by the type of market, and then whether customers on that market require some specific certifications or labelings. And first thing, what the market requires legally. Okay, those are the standards. And second, what customers require to buy the products. Okay. And beyond obtaining the certificate, again, sometimes we say that the journey is much more important than the destination. Okay, the journey is much more important than the destination itself. Than the fact of engaging yourself in a certification process is an excellent opportunity to improve your company situation. Then just by doing that exercise of spotting where the hazards can occur more frequently, trying to find out about what can harm the product, what can make the product inappropriate or unsafe for consumption. Just by engaging in such an exercise would make your company better. Okay, then the company would be better off engaging in this journey. I'm proposing here some key references for those who want to go further. You can click on those links and find out more about some specific certifications. Then that would be a good exercise for you to engage in. This is all what I wanted to share with you today regarding the limited time that I have. Then thank you very much for your patience and your attention. And if you have any questions, you are more than welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Allali, for this excellent presentation. As I say, we will share with you the recording. We will share with you the presentation material, so don't worry about that. I think now is the time that if you have any question for Mr. Allali and any question that we can help you with, either you can put the question in the chat, or you just raise your hand and unmute, and then we can take your questions. Don't be shy. We're here to, to help and to guide. You can also share maybe your experience, what your company is doing, and if you're already certified. I think we have a first participant who wants to, yes, Mrs. Rinalda, if you want to unmute.
Thank you very much, Dr. Allali, for the good presentation.
You are welcome.
My name is FrederineDerlot and Mr. I'm the founder and CEO of ReniFresh, which is in Tanzania. And I'm here with my senior team members. There are 4 of them: Eugenia, Edison, Lucilla, and Glory. So in a nutshell, we are the producers and processors of fresh fruits, herbs, spices, and vegetables. We do both the open and closed field. And we are now embarking on a project where we are going to promote more on the ecology and agroecology. So we are seeing ourselves as on the need for the organic certification. However, the place where we are going to put our demo farm is being surrounded by practitioners who are not practicing organic. So I have about 3 questions on this. Is it possible to certify a facility separately where we do the processing as organic certified? Number 2, is it possible or what can we do to get into a process of organically certified while the other practitioners around us are not practicing organic agriculture practices? And the other question is, we are a Christian-based business in the sense that the founder is a Christian, but then we want also to embark on the halal certification opportunities because we see the market potential there. Does the halal certification requires only the people who are going to be certified to be Muslims, or is there an opportunity for any other company to practice halal? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rinalda, for those 3 important questions. And I'll start with the first one. Yes, I said that it's very difficult for fields that are surrounded with people producing non-organic products to get certified themselves because of some specifications regarding the distance to be observed between the organic field and the non-organic field. Then you've got to check this with the certifying body to find out about the distance to be respected. And if your field is big enough, you may be allowed to produce organic products in a part of that field that is far enough from surrounding fields that produce non-organic products. Then you've got to find out about the certifying body to find out about the distance to be observed and whether you can certify one facility or 2 facilities or more separately than the other fields. With regard to the second question, and Frederine, you can jump in whenever you want if you have any compliment. Then
maybe just on this first point, Mrs. Rinalda, I worked on fresh fruit and veg sector in Tanzania. Maybe you can ask Taha for guidance. Taha and Taha Fresh. If you are looking into exporting your fresh fruit and veg, Global Gap certification is the one that you should be looking for. If you're exporting towards demanding market, Europe, but also Middle East, they would be keen on Global Gap certification. And as Mr. Allali said, I mean, I'm guessing, I know for Global Gap certification that Taha is certified auditor. So maybe you can ask them if there is certified auditor in organic certification also in Tanzania. So you would get some guidance and into the more detailed questions you have, about distance to avoid cross-contamination between conventional and organic fields.
Thank you very much. I'm a member of Taha and I was the board member for 7 years. So I'll get in touch with Eric Mosiga, who is the auditor on the organic certification. Thank you so much.
It was trained, we had an ITC project and we supported Taha to get certifications. So, Mr. Allali, if you want to take the second part of the question.
Yeah, thank you, Frederic, because by the same token, you have addressed the second question as well about what can be done to get certified. Then you direct them to Taha to check about how to get certified organic as well. With regard to the third question, yes, I've noted that you are Christian-based business, but you still can manufacture halal certified products if you comply with the requirements of your local certifying body. Then you have something that you can do yourselves with regard to processing, manufacturing, and so on. But when it comes to, I don't know if you are in the meat business as well. If you have maybe some slaughtering to do, you've got to do it in a certified slaughterhouse by somebody who is an imam or somebody who is invested with the capacity of doing it. But with regard to manufacturing the product, you can do it if you abide by the rules of your local certifying body. Then even if you are Christian-based business, you can still be halal certified if you comply with the rules of the local certifying body.
And just to complement on that, Mrs. Rinalda, there is little interest from the market if it's halal certification for fresh fruit and veg. This is more like Mr. Allali said, about processed product. And so I don't know what products you had in mind for halal certification.
Thank you very much, Fredrine. As I said, we are so much into fresh fruits and vegetables and also herbs and spices.
Yeah.
We are not into meat yet. Yeah.
So if you want to go for export, the first certification for you to think about would be Global Gap rather than halal. I hope it answered some of your question, Ms. Rinalda. I think we have another question from Mr. and Mrs. Tenza Nonopa, if you want to unmute.
Afternoon, everyone. It is a Mrs. Tenza, not Mr. I'm a grain producer in South Africa. And I just wanted to find out about SGS. Professor Allali didn't touch on SGS because Germany was looking for grains, soybeans and white maize, and then they said they want certification, and then they said SGS certification. So I wonder if maybe the Global Gap will be able to cover that requirement for SGS, or is that something completely different that I would need to satisfy? Thanks.
Yeah, SGS stands for Sustainable Global Development objectives that are 17 objectives that were developed by United Nations. And to make sure that what you're doing is eco-responsible and that is sustainable. And that's why many certifications right now take it into consideration. And we talked about Global Gap that takes into consideration the HDS. Donc, Global Gap, as Frederic said, would be a good start to comply with the SGDS objectives of the United Nations. Then I don't know if there is a certification specific.
I think, Mrs. Tenza, did you mean SGS, the certifying body?
It just said SGS certified. That's what the requirement said, yes.
SGS is a certifying body, is one of the certifying bodies, not the only one. So in South Africa, if you're based in South Africa, you're quite lucky because there are certified auditing bodies in South Africa. In other countries of Africa, sometimes there's none in your country, so you have to ask certifiers to come from abroad. So it's an additional cost for your certifications. So a global gap is just for fresh fruit and veg, roughly, not for processed food. But my thought would be to, I just Googled very quickly SGS, and you can find their contacts in South Africa. So my thoughts would be, first they can guide you, try to contact them, and because this German company you went in touch with, they wanted what certification? Because SGS is the certifier. They are the one who are going to audit. They will audit whatever certification you ask them to audit, basically.
I see.
I didn't understand the question before. I heard SGDS, and SGS actually is one of the certifying bodies, but I think that customers usually don't ask for a specific certifying body. They'll ask for a certification. Then if they are asking for a certificate from SGS, most likely it would be about the pre-shipment inspection certificate that is delivered by SGS or by other equivalent bodies like Veritas, Athena, and so on. Then most likely they're talking about the pre-shipment inspection certificate rather than a certification, okay? Then because customers generally don't ask about a certifying body, a specific certifying body, they ask for a certification.
Okay. And just to clarify, so you're saying global gap is for fresh produce, not for grains. So I wouldn't need it for grain production.
Certification like global gap, it takes a year and a half, depending. The audit has to take place when your crop is in season. So that's why sometimes it's longer. So it's not something, some of the certification we talked about here, you would have a much shorter time, like HACCP or ISO, depending if you have put, the procedure in place, you can get certified or fair trade much quicker. Certification like global gap, a year and a half. Certification like organic, to go from conventional to organic, it can take up to 3 years, depending on what treatment you had on your fields in the past. Sometimes it's slightly shorter, but still it's not something that can happen overnight, if I may say.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. We have a question in the chat from a lady who would like to request certification assistance for my food processing company. We are in Mali, and she would like to export in several countries, including Africa and the US. Maybe we can guide her in terms of what certification she should go for as a first step in her objective to export.
Yeah, I think that there are two basic certifications that every company can adopt, dependless of the market it targets. And we're talking here about HACCP and the Global Gap, okay? And those are basic certifications that the company can ask for. And other certifications, most of them depend on the market requirements. And once you have chosen the market you want to target, you've got to find out about what kind of standards that market requires. Okay, then you've got to have a certification that answers to that specific requirement, and to find out about what customers on that market require as well. And if you want to export your product maybe to a I don't know, maybe Scandinavian market, they are going to ask for SMETA. Then you've got to go through the audit, the SMETA audit to get audited and to get, it's not a certification, it's just an audit. It tells customers that you've gone through that SMETA audit and that the result was positive. But on some other markets, they are going to ask for a specific certification to buy your products. Then again, 3 steps. First one is to start by the certifications that apply to all markets like HACCP and global market. Second one is once you have selected the market you want to market your products to, you've got to find out about what that market requires legally from you as certifications to make sure that you comply with the specifications and what customers ask for to buy your product once the product is on the market.
Yeah, and just to maybe summarize, as I say, if you're fresh fruit and veg exporters, Global Gap is the one that, if you want to reach international markets, is the one you should think about. And if you're a processor, HACCP HACCP is the one. Exporting to African country and the US country is a whole different ball game. Let's try to, if you're new at export, test the regional market, try neighboring countries, see, the requirements, what they want, etc. And then as your experience grows, then you can go towards a more demanding market. The more demanding market, the more requirements they will get. They will ask you to fulfill. I hope it answered this question. Do we have any other questions? Any other thoughts?
We have one question in the chat
Yes.
directed to me. Are there organizations that finance SMEs to be Global Gap and HACCP compliant in Kenya? The participants shares that she produces fresh produce and herbs for export.
Okay. Luladay, do you want to take this one, or do you want me to give some input also?
No, please give input. I don't think we have more questions.
Okay. There are organizations such as, they used to be called Kole ACP. Now they changed the name to Kole AD, but they are doing the same thing. Basically, it's more for fresh. They are always looking, they are donor funded, they're based in Belgium, but they are doing training in Africa on Global Gap certification, from awareness to further down the line, maybe probably towards certification. And I'm sure they have an ongoing project in Kenya, or they're about to, they're quite active. So my advice would be to reach out to them. I'm putting here in the chat the name of that organization. So don't hesitate to Google it. And this is more for fresh operators.
Fredrine, we have one more question in the chat. It reads, we are in Zimbabwe, so we aggregate honey from rural farmers, then we process, pack, and distribute. So how do we go about organic certification since we're not keeping the bees ourselves? Also, as a processor, which certification should we put in place?
I try to answer that, Mr. Allali, and please compliment on this very specific honey. I actually worked to support the honey sector in Zambia a few years back with ITC, and that Zambia was also looking into organic certification. And I remember, but regulations may have changed, that we talked earlier about cross-contamination. about between conventional and organic, and I just remember that a bee had, if the bee travels about 2 kilometers, and it had to be organic within those 2 kilometers, within this radius, to be certified organic. To be confirmed. Again, reach out to organic certifier in your home country, and ask them about the proper procedures, because you're not the only one collecting, honey from wild honey or non-wild honey from farmers, from beekeepers. In terms of certification, HACCP for your processing plant, for where you process the honey, would be the right one to choose. Mr. Allali, you have anything to add on honey?
I would just like to add that for honey, the conditions are stricter than for other products, because, as you said, the bees travel and they don't know the limits of the field they have to actually to I don't know how to say, to collect nectar from. Then the conditions are stricter when it comes to certifying organic honey. Then they ask for longer distances, and they ask as well for tougher conditions for processing the honey and so on. And also, more often than not, they ask for a test at the end of the process to make sure that the honey has not been contaminated by pesticides or by other products. Then it's not only about certification, it's about also the testing of each batch of the product. Okay, then the conditions, I know that the conditions are stricter, but I know of a lot of brands that could get the certification for honey, the organic certification, I mean.
And then it depends also how you want to export your honey. If you're talking about drums, and that's where the HACCP comes in, or even if you're talking about retail pack for regional domestic markets, HACCP would be handy also. So it comes down to that also. We have another question from a colleague from the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. She says, I'm in processing of fruit and veg. I'm thinking into venturing into international markets overseas. What advice would you give for certification?
Sorry, I didn't get the first part of the question.
It's an exporter who is in the Caribbean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they are processing fruit and veg, and they are thinking of entering international markets, so exports. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give for certification?
Again, the same answer that I gave a few minutes ago to, I think it was Mrs. Tenza, to start with the basic certification, which is ACCP. And after that, to select the market presenting the best potential or the highest potential, and to study it in terms of non-measured tariffs, specifications, standards that the company has to comply with. And after that, to undertake a market search to find out about what customers want from fruits and vegetables when they are imported. Then the legal requirements, and after that, the customers' requirements.
And for processing, also for those of you who are doing processing, as Mr. Allali mentioned, there is an ITC online tool that is free called Standards Map. So I would encourage you to log in, create your profile, it's free, and then you can see, we talk about HACCP, we talk about global gap, but then you can actually see what is required. What are the requirements to meet the level to be certified in HACCP, in Global Gap, and so on. So, and you can do self-assessment. Maybe your company is already doing step 1 to 5, and then it will tell you, you know, what missing steps you need to take to achieve the level where you can be certified. So that's a practical online tool that is free, that can give you some guidance also. We have.
I think the MAC map as well can be a good starting point to find out about the mandatory requirements to sell the product on a specific market, because you select the market with the highest potential using another ITC tool, which is trade map or export potential map. And once you select the right market, you go to MAC map, market access map, to find out about the legal requirements to enter that market. And that would give you an idea about what kind of certification you would need to enter legally the market. And once you are in the market, find out about what consumers ask for as additional certifications or labelings.
And I see a hand raised, but just before, there's a quick question about what about fruit process like fruit jam to certify the processing facility for organic certification? I think it's going through the same process, whether it's organic production or organic certification. Find a certifier in your country. As Mr. Allali said, you know, check the requirements, and that's just the first steps towards that.
Go through the conversion process, and to make sure that you are using the methods, the seeds, and so on. And after that, the organic certifying body locally would help you comply with the rest of the process.
Yeah. And I think we had Ms. Tesema or Mrs. Tesema Kasa. You had your hand raised.
Frederine, I think that was a question that was on the fruit process, like fruit jam, the one you responded to, and maybe that's why the hand is down now.
Okay, excellent. I don't, Luladai, do you see any? I don't see any other questions in the chat.
No other questions in the chat.
Okay, excellent. Well, if there's no other questions, first I wanted to thank again Mr. Allali for his presentation and his work.